to the Right Fit podcast. My name is Maz Compton and today I'm joined by Louise E. What does the E stand for, Louise?
Edmonds.
Edmonds. So do you have a nickname? Lou, Louise, Eddie?
No, Eddie. I've got Lulu Bell, Louie Lou.
Oh.
So people get a reaction out of me when they call, especially Louie Lou, because that's what when I was young, that's what they would call me. So.
Childhood nickname?
Yes.
I feel like I want to call you Lou. Are you comfortable with that?
Happy.
Okay, Lou, cool. So we have you on the Right Fit podcast today because we were doing sort of panel discussions about the world of influencer marketing and what is an influencer and what the heck is social media all about, and it's just gone bananas. And we're trying to, I guess, identify like what is happening in this space and how are brands engaging, how are agency engaging, how is talent engaging. And it got to a point where I was like, well, we should just ask people who are doing it for a living or trying to do it for a living or doing it well or badly for a living. Which one of those categories do you think you fall into, hun?
Oh, probably all of the above, to be honest with you, because I'll be honest and frank, because I know, interviews like this is just so integral to the next up-and-coming group of people.
Well, and I feel like that is the captive audience that we have, are people going, this Instagram thing, I'm not sure if I can monetize it. Can I monetize it? It looks like people are doing that, but they have to be models or what have you. There's so many questions about, is this a viable industry? Like, can we even call it an industry yet? Because it doesn't feel like it can be policed at all yet. That it doesn't feel like there's boundary yet. So I guess I'll get you to explain like what you do, and I'd love for you, if you had to pick one title for yourself, how do you identify when someone says, so what do you do?
Yes. Well, I started in the golden years of blogging.
Yes.
So 9 years ago.
Did you have a Tumblr?
Yes.
I feel like anyone who is...
I had MySpace.
Oh, you were on
Before
MySpace.
MySpace was sold and bought again and sold and bought again.
Gotcha. So I won't say the year.
No. Look, I can consider myself one of I don't want to put titles on myself, but 2008 was when I started MenStylePower.
Wow.
And so it's 9 years this month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. 9 years this month, and I've seen, from the golden years of blogging where there was an opinion, there was a 700,000 word article, lots of photographs. You were travelling all over the world, so I would travel over to New York to sit at New York Fashion Week, to blog for Barney's New York, to do work alongside Refinery, 29 and other big sort of like authorities in the market when it came to blogging.
Yeah, so I feel like you were a part of the original Bloggerati.
Yes.
That's cool.
I was blogging before Australia even really knew what it was about.
Blogging was. Because now anyone has a blog.
Yes.
My 16-year-old nephew has a blog and a YouTube channel. And I'm like, don't you just want to play cricket?
Yes.
What are you doing, right? So now it feels, and the reason I say that is just to identify that in 2008 was, that's really,
it was very defined.
Stepping out of that norm and doing something very, very different for the first time, that people were like, a what?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
They didn't. Yeah, it was very new.
Yes.
Which is scary.
Yeah.
Because you go first, which is the scariest, and you take all the risk, and then everyone kind of gets in the slipstream.
Exactly.
Right.
So you're more pioneering, and then you have a wake behind you.
Yeah.
And people do ride on your coattails. So you
Absolutely.
you are digging the ground for something new to emerge. It's very innovative, and monetizing it is a whole new ball game.
Of course.
So
on that note, so were you getting paid to blog?
No. So what?
That was all for funsies.
Well, how it worked is that you kept your day job, and then you, from 7 or 8 o'clock at night when you came home, you made your dinner, you got yourself a glass of red, and you blogged for 3 hours. Wow. So you went to bed at midnight, then you're up at 6, and then you're doing your day job.
So
and I did that for 3
passion,
years.
just
total passion.
Total passion.
Which is very different to what's going on today.
And your background is in fashion journalism.
Yeah. So I studied film and television, journalism and photography at high school. I have a certificate in styling. So I went to the the Australian College of Professional Styling. My father's side is in media, so he's been a journalist for 44 years.
Oh, wow.
My other two uncles are in media. One's at Channel 9, one's, in newspapers. And then my mother's side...
Is your uncle Carl Stefanovic?
No.
Oh. That would have been cool, though. Imagine having
that would
Carl
have been
Stefanovic
so good. Hang on, let me just
uncle.
call him just a minute.
Oh,
Get him on the phone.
Gosh, that would just be so... Oh, Uncle Carl. Anyway,
I know.
sorry.
So it's always been in my family. And so my father always said to me, knowledge is power. And my mother was a fashion designer, and she came from a line of seamstresses.
So you've
and tailors.
really fused what your parents did in one little package.
Crazy.
That's so cool.
Yes.
So is it something that, let's go back to, say, teenage years. What did you think you'd be doing career-wise?
Well, I was in the entertainment industry. I was studying classical ballet and I was doing Eurostedfords. But while I was at school, I was also doing TV commercials and I was modelling and I was doing the like. So I had the full gamut. I think I had chronic fatigue at the age of 15 because I was just doing so much.
And were you with an agency at that point?
Yes, I was.
Was it like Extras Agency or... Do you remember the name of it? Because I remember
Margot Mott was the agency on the Gold Coast. Like June Daly-Watkins.
Yes.
Bless her to bits. She was like the grandmama, the great-grandmama of modelling agencies.
Because there was one in Sydney that was #1 management, and I'll never forget... This was just back in the day when they used to fax scripts for auditions to you. Do you remember those days, Lou? Yes. Or is it just me?
No.
And all the millennials go, what's a fax machine? I don't understand. Don't worry, guys. It'll blow your brain to try and understand it. But I'll never forget, I would get a call from #1 management, and it was Di and Sharon. And it's Di from #1 management. I'd be like, hi, Di. It's like, you've got an audition for Heartbreak High. And she was just the best. Anyway, it doesn't work like that these days.
No.
That's why we have the Right Fit platform, to be perfectly honest with you.
And it's brilliant because it's just so easy. It's true, you'd have to go through.
I don't know how they did it back. How did they do that? How did they manage talent and get people to auditions with scripts without email? Like, it blows my mind.
I know.
It really,
it's insane.
So that's a throwback. So were you doing like little bit parts on telly commercials?
Yeah, I was doing commercials for big shopping centres for Wheat Bix, Nestle, ice cream, Peter's ice cream, for big brands, Red Rooster. And all of it. And I was at, I hate to say this word, so please forgive me, but kind of kid star. And it was on TV shows. I was singing and dancing. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I had all of that gamut.
Was your mum a stage mum?
Yes. Yeah, she was, but she was very responsible. She was not like what we see today.
She wasn't like a dance mum?
No, not like that show, no.
So you had a momager at like early teens. Now,
it's hilarious.
So does the apple fall far from the tree? Are you a stage mum?
It's funny. It's like what you see when you're growing up, you kind of want to do the opposite for your own child to make sure they're protected from anything.
Oh, so everyone feels that? That's not just me?
No, it's not just you. Yeah, it's not. I think it's just a natural progression. If you've been under stress as a child, you kind of want to protect your own child from that kind of stress. So at the moment, I'm just looking for my daughter's strengths. She's 4.5 now. Her name's Chloe. And
cute.
she's adorable. But she's in a different world. She's got YouTube and she's got all of these families that are very voyeuristic on...
Well, Chloe would know what an iPad is.
Yes.
And I learnt that at the age of, I think, 32.
Yes.
And she's 4.5. Like, it's a very different world now.
Yes.
And it's almost like there's... I love the innocence of growing up as a teenager in the 90s and just knowing that there was a safety house down the road and you don't get in cars with strangers and that's that.
Yes.
Because you didn't have to worry about being stalked online by predators because that wasn't a thing in our lives, whereas now there's got to be so much awareness that you build into that next generation and those young kids about, staying safe and trusting the right kinds of people, and it kind of freaks me out, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I'm seeing it unfold, and I think the concern is that you need to be so savvy as an adult to, one, be able to speak to your children about potential predatory behaviour online, but also not put any fear, guilt or shame on them that they're in a situation, so you still have that refining relationship with you as a parent.
And also just a healthy relationship with social media and technology and screens in general. Like it's, the addiction rates, the stats on them are crazy. And then the correlation between that and depression is huge, and it's just... That's a whole other podcast, right?
Oh my gosh,
that is a whole other podcast. So, and we've scratched the surface, but I want to get back on track to talk about you before we go down this road, and we need to change the world and switch off all the screens.
Oh, I know.
So, talk to me about MenStylePower. Where did this come from? How did it form? How did it get birthed in you?
Well, I grew up with a twin brother, so I love men, I love the male psyche, I love the way that they're, simple creatures and we're incredibly complex. And over the years, I looked at that and I looked at his trials and tribulations, what he went through, and I was always a person that he would sit down and talk to. So I felt very grateful that we had that closeness.
Yeah.
And I'd been working in the retail industry for quite a few years, and my background, as you know, was entertainment, media, television and whatnot. And I'd converted across to, strangely, it's always been those two industries. Mum and Dad's fault, completely, I blame them.
Totally their fault.
Retail, though, was a very interesting beast because people are so glamorized by fashion, style and retail, and what they don't realise is it's massive business.
Yes,
and that's,
it is.
If you're not making and cutting, even every month, then big fashion businesses go down. So they need to send out very smart marketing messages, and it's all associated to cool. So after working in that for a while, I saw that there was a very uneven scale to what was being presented to women and what was available in terms of opportunity and options for men. So I decided to go down the path of MenStylePower.
Yeah.
And that was simply because I wanted to encourage and build the confidence of men through clothing, but not forget about what was going on the inside. So that's why power is associated with the title Men's Style and Power.
So it's a lot deeper than you just wanted to be around male models all the time.
Yeah. I love that. So much deeper. So much deeper.
Like, you know what? If your life goal was, hey, I just want to be around male models, you nailed it, girlfriend. You nailed it. I love that. So is there, that you know of, is there like a reverse gender pay gap? So when you think about, so a male models, and you might not know the answer, but it popped into my brain when I was thinking about what to talk to you about. A male model's paid less than what their female counterparts are paid.
I don't have the quantitative data for that, but...
What's your gut feeling?
My gut feel is yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, simply because if you look at the world of retail, there is far more offering of female to male. 100%. Therefore, if there's more offering to female, there's a higher demand on female models. The fashion industry evolves around, one of the topics of beauty. So, they want women to be the star and perhaps men to be more of an accessory around any campaign.
Yeah.
There's still brilliant, designers like Dolce & Gabbana and Versace who are very much silo their men's campaigns as well as their women's, but not a lot of them do that do both, because the men's market is nowhere near as big, although it's had incredible growth
it's definitely
over the last
improved,
8 years. Definitely.
Where I grew up, there was Lowe's.
Yes.
That's about it, right? Like they're your options for men's clothing. But it's definitely a thing now. And so I'm sure you would have seen this where, and I don't know what trend we're in, but there was the macho male, then the alpha male, and then I don't know where we are now, but I feel like there's this sort of, every few years there's like this resurgence of like a trend in men. So a decade or so ago, a guy saying that they moisturize their face is like, oh, you know what I mean? Like it would not have taken well in an audience of men. I feel like that's really acceptable now. And we talk about skincare, and there's as many products on the market, probably not as many, but there's a healthy selection of products for men who want to look after their skin, and it's not looked at or looked down upon or you know, like, oh, stop being a girl. Like, I feel like the whole sexism thing it's a bit done, then it's overdone now.
Yeah, indeed.
So you've seen that in clothing as well. Has there been like I guess an expression of that through clothing?
Oh, definitely. I think what's happened is it's very localised men's fashion. If you look at what the Italians wear, to the French, to Tokyo, to the Harajuku, to what's happening in the States and then Australia, we have, you know, your bloke here in Australia. There's always pockets of different style tribes of men in various areas. But what I've found is that, you know, moisturising the skin, men realise that they had competition as they got, you know, as they aged, more wisdom, more life experience up the corporate ladder. But they also realised that they had people at their heels nipping away to get the corner office. So it pressed them to look after their skin, to look after their handsomeness, and to make sure that their suits were looking good, because it's very much a power play for them in the corporate space. And if you just look at the role models of male and female, men do want to get that sense of achievement and also success in front of their peers, because that's something that tells them that they haven't failed in life.
That's right.
So when you see them looking after their skin, their hair, Ashley and Martin, whatever it is that they need to do to keep that sense of youth, it's because they know that a lot more rides on it than just face beauty, handsomeness.
I understand.
And it's the same with fashion. They became, you know, patterns and pinks. You know, Australia 5-6 years ago, guys were wearing pink shirts. Once upon a time, that was looked upon as incredibly effeminate to do that. But then,
don't
you know,
wear salmon.
That's right. Don't wear apricot.
Salmon is not your colour.
But
now
it changed. Patterns, they became more flamboyant, they became more experimental with what they were wearing, and I totally endorse it. I just think, you know, I personally, in the space I work in, want to see a man feel good in what he's wearing, because it takes courage to be stylish. This is what people don't realise, especially for guys.
Yeah.
And so when they're doing it, I just go, I completely encourage them. I'm their cheerleader.
And I think as well, because men, I mean, without generalising, I think there's certain elements about a man that that we don't have as women, and I think ego, and that's not in the sense of being egotistical, I just mean ego as a thing, is something that they need to appeal. And so guys, I think, in the past would have taken less risk at the thought of their ego not being encouraged because they felt like they looked stupid, which is something that women go through from the age of 6.
Yes.
But guys, I think, don't necessarily go through it until they're a little bit older, and they're like, oh, maybe I really want to wear those jodhpurs. Oh, actually, I'm not sure, and I don't look stupid. And then their insecurities come out just like everybody else.
Oh my gosh, they're just as sensitive. They just don't vocalise it, and they just don't show it.
So have you had any backlash as a woman supporting men's style and power? Because I know, I mean, I almost want to ask you, like, are you a feminist, and how does that work, and is that like a clash in your brain? But has anyone been vocal about, hey, like, you should be supporting women because, like, what about women's style power? You know what I mean?
Somebody said to open up women's style power, and I just thought I can't split my energies into two places, because I'm so passionate about men in terms of just encourage them to be the best that they can be, and it seems to have always been the case. So I've had no backlash, incredibly, you know, like, wow.
That's awesome.
I've only been encouraged by my peers. So I've got a lot of influencers in my circles. So when we get invited to various events and, you know, there's no collaboration yet, which is another point I want to sort of get to.
Okay.
But when it comes to my peers, highly respected, always welcoming, I just have a different view on a guy, because, you know, if I look at another woman and go, you should be wearing something like this because of, you know, your height, your skin colouring, your shape, it's more flattering, etc. I just do exactly the same for guys.
Yeah.
I'm not a feminist, and I think the reason why is because I grew up with a twin.
Yeah.
So I very early on realised that we had some factors in our life, being male and female, that we could not share. And it was heartbreaking, because I wanted to be just like him. And I was very aware that physically he's stronger. He was built to protect me as his sister. I was built to nurture him when he was in pain.
Wow.
So I saw these very clear strengths and weaknesses because I grew up with a twin brother. So it's just my opinion, and I adore women who stand up and wave the banner for women's rights and for women's, equal pay, and all the arguments that we're seeing in the media at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's just not where I stand. I think the more I can encourage men to be the best they can be, the more we're going to see less affliction between the sexes.
I love that. I think that's so cool. So MenStylePower, what's your day-to-day?
Oh.
Do you ever sleep? Is it 24/7, 7?
Well, when it started, that's hilarious. Yeah,
whatever.
365, 20, no off switch.
24, just all of it.
Yes, all of it, all the time. When I first started, I was single. So I'd have a day job, and for 3 years, I came home and I blogged 3 hours after work and got 6 hours sleep.
That's why you were single.
That's right. And I met my husband through RSVP, believe it or not, because I was never out. I was never out. I was not at bars. I was not out with girlfriends, very rarely, and because I was so dedicated to what I was doing. So that sacrifice happened. And then I monetized the blog with an ebook, and obviously getting all of this work coming in. So I'd work direct with brands on the other side of the world, because no one in Australia at that time was really catching on to what the disruption was. So we're still putting their money where print. They weren't putting their money into digital. Yeah. And blogging basically means better leverage on Google. So you have...
Is that what it actually means?
Actually what it means.
I did not know that. I didn't know that blog meant anything.
So the purpose of a blog...
Oh, this is so insightful.
We love insight because it starts to make things make sense.
Better leverage on Google.
That's why Google has such power when it changes the algorithms of certain things within the blogosphere.
Wow, that has blown my mind.
Yeah.
Like I've never even questioned that might mean something. It's like... Sure, you write a blog, you're a blogger. Good on you.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing now.
It's just this new name.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. So if you had a website and you sold product off your website, you would have a tab that was your blog, and all the keywords you put under all of your articles would draw traffic to
your site.
So when people loved what you talked about, they were more likely to buy your product, whether it be anything to do with, it could be tech, it could be phones, it could be cars, it could be anything.
Yeah, wow.
So that's what it meant. So that was the day-to-day for many, many years. And I got married. Obviously, you keep doing your blogging, more and more work with clients, more and more campaigns with clients, going overseas and whatnot. And then when I had my daughter 4.5 years ago, things just dramatically...
Everything changes.
And you are 24/7. So my day-to-day now... would be most of my work and emails get done before she wakes up. So it's from 6:30 to about 8 o'clock. Yeah. I'm sitting down with a cup of coffee looking fabulous, doing all my emails. She wakes up, I get her to daycare, and then I'm back and I'm on emails, creating proposals, drafts, or doing shoots, or producing television, or doing video content.
So you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, I do.
All very fashionable hats, or probably fedoras.
Oh yeah, fedora. We love fedora with a feather.
Yeah, with a feather. So you're doing. It sounds like a lot. So at what point did you quit your job and just do MenStylePower? Was there a date?
5 years ago. Yeah, so 5 years. 5 years ago.
And was that scary?
In a way it was, but at the same time I think every business owner who has a passion has to back themselves at some point. Yeah. And you need to go, right, what's the worst that can happen? I can do this, and after a year it's not supporting me, or after 6 months or 4 months, whatever timeline you've got on it, and go, well, I can go back and get another job. But I think I was a bit of an anomaly in the marketplace, and I think that's what also got me the traction that I needed. Yeah. And, the fashion writing for Fashionbeans and CEO Magazine, and executive style in Sydney Morning Herald, and my pieces were commissioned across to Australian Fin Review.
Yeah.
So I was very, very fortunate that it all happened at the right time, but I made measured decisions.
Calculated risk.
Yeah, you have to, because what I see now, which is, you know, what you were saying before, where has it landed now? Because it's become a very different landscape.
Well, so now I feel like everyone has a blog.
Yes.
And nobody knows what it stands for. And not necessarily because they want to make money eventually, just because they've got an opinion about something. And it's changed so much. So I'm all for diversity, but I'm also a bit like, there's too much information. And so you at least have a degree in, like, there's fashion journalism background, there's parents that, you know, like, invested in you, and you've been around media, and so I feel like there's a level of expertise and professionalism that's just inbuilt into your DNA to be able to do this. And then you've got like some 17-year-old kid blogging away who puts up a post with 1,000 typos and doesn't know how to spell "your" correctly, and it makes my head explode. And so, like, where is it going? So is blog now just code for, I think something and I want to write it down and get people to like it?
Well, it's come down to how, and this is what I've experienced. I'm sure other people from different angles have experienced something differently. But when I was, I start writing for Sydney Morning Herald, executive style, and my brief from my editor was no more than, 450 words to 550 words, because we've been Google-fied. We have a short attention span.
Totally.
We want to see lots of pictures and we want less copy, and that copy has to be really meaningful. So what I saw from, golden age of blogging, now dead, shorter copy, more images.
It's dead, isn't it? The
dying.
golden age of...
it's
done.
dead, it's done. And then Instagram.
Do we need to do
a funeral
service? An on-podcast funeral or eulogy? R.I.P. B.L.O.G.
Oh my gosh.
It moves so fast. Okay, so blogging, golden age of blogging, dead.
Yes, dead.
Then we
Unfortunate. Then we get to shorter copy, more pictures, more editorial. And then now we've got the grammars, the nickname for Instagrammers, coming through. So the grammars, that age started about 2.5 years ago. And I think for me, not only with my background and having expertise and an authority on the market, I've done well over 10,000 hours in what I'm doing, which sort of classifies you as a bit of an expert, although I don't put that hat on. I
have heard that, though. 10,000 hours means you're old.
Yes.
10,000 hours does equate to a level of being an expert, definitely.
A level.
It depends on what the hours are in, really, yeah, that's right. I think. Because I think there'd be some expert beach layabouts, but really, what does that qualify you to do?
Expert bar hoppers.
Other than be a travel blogger, probably.
That's it.
Yeah.
A bikini a day. Instagram, great pictures, great flat lays. What I'm feeling now is the substance is starting to slip. Mm-hmm. And I only spoke to someone on the weekend, City to Surf, sitting down, enjoying everyone's company. And, you do you men's stylist, MenStylePower, yes. I want to start a blog. I heard you can make a lot of money. And I sat there going, oh, my gosh, if this is the mentality that people think, I welcome people to get involved, but I'm not sure that they all really know the amount of hard work that you need to. And it changes. It's such a dynamic industry and landscape that the moment algorithms are changed or the moment the rules and terms and conditions are changed, it completely affects what you're doing. Yeah.
So do you have any downtime?
It's funny, no.
Nope. Next question.
Only when I'm sick. I've been sick for the last 3 weeks, so I've just
Did you get that horrible flu?
Yes.
The super bug?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
My
just
mum's
awful.
a nurse. She's just retired this year, but she's nursed for my mum's 100, so she's nursed forever.
Bless
she's not
her.
really 100.
Yeah.
And she said, she's like, this last year, the super bugs are out. and we just can't stop them. And she reckons flu bugs are getting everyone for 3 weeks now. It's a thing.
Yeah, it is.
So that's the only downtime you get is when you literally need, your body just goes,
yeah, see ya.
Break.
Yeah, it shuts me down. Yeah, so right. I'm forced into rest. But it's only because you're running your own business. And there's more Instagrammers and there's more great looking men in my sphere. And because I'm a different sort of beast in this market of menswear, men's fashion, men's style and lifestyle. I'm one of the only women. There's one other female stylist in Melbourne that I know who's in the same space, but there's no one else that I can find. Everyone else is a man self-promoting what he does. Right. I can't self-promote what I do unless I'm out there wearing a suit and smoking a cigar.
I'm sure it would look great on you.
Wearing a fedora and a feather.
I've got no doubt you look fabulous, but it would be weird.
It would be weird, but it'd be a gimmick and it could work really well. But, so I have some limitation with what I do, although the collaborations I do with bringing on male models and other male influencers and doing the like and presenting them, or what I do is I push forward my stylist card and I do work in that capacity. So
I love what you just said about use the word business, and I think that's the word we need to sub in for blog. So when somebody goes, I want to write a blog, it's like, no, you want to start a small business. And because that's the level of commitment and dedication and consistency that you need to have in order to make it sustainable, enjoyable, fresh, competitive, engaging. You've got to stand for something. And I think when you start a small business, and I've started 2 now, you go through purpose. So you have a mission statement. There was a knock at the door and they just left. That was funny. You have like a mission statement on what you stand for. You've got a purpose on why you're doing it, and then it goes from there. And I think if you want to start a blog, that's where you should start, is figure out what you want to stand for and start with purpose, and then formulate what you want to talk about and why and who you want to talk to around that. But if more people came at it with that attitude of like, instead of I'm starting a blog today, it's I'm actually going to do a side hustle business, I think there'd be a lot less people trying to do it and make heaps of money. Yeah. You're so I was going to say you're so on the money with what you just said.
No
pun intended.
But the biggest calling for me, and when I see other young fledglings want to get into the Instagramming world and whatnot, is that they don't have any foundation of to why they want to do it. Yeah. And I think the problem is if you don't, the seas to navigate the social media storms and all of the changes of algorithms and everything that we just spoke about now, if you don't have control of your rudder, your little ship is going to
it's
capsize.
So true.
It's you're going to end. So unless you're walking in your purpose as to why you're doing something, it will eventually fall over.
Yeah.
And if you're walking in purpose, what happens is it becomes self-sustainable because it motivates you.
Yep.
You're doing the right thing. It's part of your life, perhaps legacy that you want to pass on to your children in the next and the next. So there is a real glue that keeps you there.
Yeah.
And I just think it's just so important because I've got friends now who are in the mid-30s who go, I still don't know what I want to do with my life. And so I sit them down and I go, let's
work it out.
Work it out. Let me help you work it out.
Yeah.
Which is do a SWOT on yourself.
Yeah.
What are your strengths, weaknesses, objectives and your talents? Let's write them down. Let's see what it is. And when you identify those, first work on your weaknesses to go, okay, I'm really crap at relationships. Let me buy a few books and look at myself.
Yeah.
And then, that's for example. And then, if it is wanting to start a business, doing a SWOT also allows you to really look at where your strengths are and what you're passionate about. You might be beautiful and you want to do something, a bikini on a beach or whatever, but your real passion is writing crime books.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time.
And you could eat way more cupcakes if you just did the crime writing.
Fabulous.
Just saying.
Yes.
So have you read a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek?
No, but I have heard of it. I think it was in Maria Forleo. She interviewed him on that book.
He did a really great bit that went slightly viral on Facebook about millennials.
Right.
And his sort of catch cry was, like, okay, sort of, I guess we're going to blame the parents a little bit here because everyone was told that they were so special and you're a unique snowflake, and guess what? There's a real world and you're not that special and you've got to do the hard work. And he was saying how now corporate has to really take on that parenting role. So with millennials in corporate, the bosses now are teaching these kids how to function as adults first and then become great employees. That's a whole sidebar. He's got this book. I read it at the end of last year called Start With Why, and it is all about finding your purpose.
Yeah.
And how if you have your purpose and your why in life, the what doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
So a lot of people are like, I want to be a this, I want to be a that, I want to be an Instagram star, I want to have a really successful blog. But if you don't know why, then don't bother. Figure out the why. And then what you'll notice is when you figure out that why and you can really ground down and go, this is my authentic purpose and why I'm here, then it doesn't matter if it's a blog or a crime writing, whatever, or an Instagram thing, or starting a family, or starting a small business or a social justice charity, or then the what manifests the why, and that's the whole point. And the common conversation I have is people saying, like, I want to be an influencer, and I just go, but why? Like, who do you want to influence, and what do you want to influence them to do? Like, buy soft drinks? Because you know what, if your purpose in life is influencing somebody to buy a product that you're holding up in a photo, I don't think that's a great reason to be on this planet and be blessed with the gift of breath. Yeah. So let's just all stop and ground down into the why. And I think then from at least there you can build something that's sustainable. Because I didn't realise this about you, Lou, until I started talking to you. But you from a very young age figured out your why. And it was directly related to the person that I'm assuming you don't look exactly like your twin, but he's that inspiration for you. Yeah. And a lot of the motivation and the drive from your relationship has put you into this, and it's been a long journey as well. And I love that because there's layers to it, and I'm sure there's been ups and downs, and it's just never that overnight, I just decided to do a blog and it blew up. And then now we're having a chat on the Right Fit podcast, life made. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah. One other thing, sorry, that was me going on a rant.
I love it. That was a great rant. I love it.
The why rant, all of my friends are so flipping over me talking about it. They're like, Maz, shut up about purpose.
I know, I'm for it. I'm so for it. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm going to. I read on your bio that you're a TV producer contracted to the Hillsong Channel. Yes.
So I'm assuming you have a level of faith.
Yes.
Because I feel like you can't do that unless you have some level of faith.
Yes.
How hard is it for you to remain in that faith zone, but also do what you do in this industry that's faithless?
It's so true. I'm contracted to Hillsong Channel, which is only a year old now. The church itself is classified as a mega church for those people who don't know what it is. And it's got, I think, 17 core stations around the world in terms of the church itself. And Hillsong Channel is its own channel that broadcasts into Foxtel, the US and the UK. And it's just pushing forward the message of Jesus and healing and loving people through pain and through stuff that they've been through. And I think what my faith has done with MenStylePower is it's kind of been intrinsic and it's been intertwined from the very, very start because my heart to see men filled with confidence and living the best life that they can live, whether it be finding the girl, finding the best job, living their life, getting their house or travelling, whatever it is. Yeah. We need to understand that we learn everything from being a baby, even to hold a spoon to eat. We have to learn how to speak. We have to learn how to walk. So when it comes to dressing your best, you actually need to learn that. Yeah. A lot of people dress just to cover their nakedness. They don't actually dress to fulfill their DNA and their character.
Wow, that's really powerful because I've never thought of that, but it's 100% spot on.
So my faith
Wow.
and MenStylePower has got everything to do with, I think men are really lost. My faith sees pain in people,
Yeah.
and it makes me want to do something huge about it.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, and I always say my CEO is Jesus, so I'm accountable. And I think that's
Yeah.
another way about speaking online. Like, we have this whole issue with trolls. We've got this whole issue of people just wanting to put out their opinion.
Yeah.
If I have influence, I'm accountable to build people, not pull people down, because
Yep.
the world does that anyway.
There's
So-
enough people out there pulling people down.
Yeah.
So, like, where's the generation that rises up and goes, "Hey, let's build each other up. Let's all
And-
help each other up the ladder, guys."
Exactly, and I mean, we live in Australia. It's got a connotation to it that it's tall poppy syndrome country, and that is pretty much what you just said. We don't want to align. We don't want to collaborate and help people in our own industry. We see them as competitive. We have a sense of this is a small space. If you take over part of my pie, then I'm not going to get all the pie, and I don't succeed.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a terrible lie. I think it's a fallacy. And, you know, I guess with what I do, and my landscape with MenStylePower ultimately is changing as well, because the industry is soulless.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. Fashion doesn't cure cancer.
Nope. You are right.
Yeah, no disrespect to those people who are suffering from that, you know, listening to this, because I have friends who are doing so. But we're not doing anything that's, you know, saving the planet.
Well, I used to say, so I worked in radio for 10 years,
Yeah.
and I used to say, like, when we would get really just stuck on a thing, like, I don't know how to do this thing, and then I'd go, hang on, we're not saving lives, guys, we're just doing radio, so let's make it fun.
Yes.
You know, like, people they're not coming to us because they want their lives changed, or like, that's probably why they go to church, or, you know, something with substance, but we're just doing radio. So let's just take all the stress and the pressure off and just do the thing that we're here to do. And I can imagine it's the same in fashion. You can get, because it's a bubble, you can get so in the bubble where it's the only thing that matters, and it's unshakable, and it's your rock, and it's really just not. It's really just a nice suit or whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons. It's like anything. Electricity, it can bring light, it can kill you. So it's the same
true.
with water. It can, you know, fill your body, or can drown you. It's the same with fashion. You have to look at it with a grain of salt, and you need to go, okay, this can really help somebody with their confidence level and propel them into what they need to do.
Yeah.
Or people can get really obsessed with it, and it can be very, very bad for their health, and very, very bad for so many reasons on so many levels. So, you know, with the purpose of it and looking at it through my faith eyes, I'm accountable. I think in the over 1,000 articles that are on the site, only one has really sort of slapped a designer over the head when they associated one of their collections with drug addicts in LA. And I just thought, you know,
Oh, wow.
instead of doing it that way, why don't you raise money, and all the money you raise from that collection, give to people to
something
try and
with.
get them off the streets and do something,
Sure.
you know, altruistic with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my mandate. I love the industry. I've been in the industry for a long time. I know, $11 silk dress from India sells for $600 in David Jones. I know the markups, and I know that kind of, it's a business. It's a business. People need to understand that. And I think
insane.
some of them are, they have been glamorized by it. But it's also art. I mean, and it's art on yourself, and there's a purpose. It pulls out your character, your personality, and you know, there's so many facets to what it is. But we just have to keep our eyes open and just see it for what it is.
Yeah.
And if it's soulless in some areas, then maybe you can do something about that and give it more life.
Yeah,
So,
totally. There's always that option.
always.
So where are you going to be in 5 years?
Well, it's funny. The landscape of MenStylePower, as I mentioned, it is going to change because with what I do, you know, with producing TV for Hillsong, I produce a TV show called Sex, Love and Relationships, which I love. I love.
I'm sure you have some amazing conversations.
So good, so good. We have hilarious conversations, and we also have very deep conversations around that. So with my heart and my mind, my thinking, my prayer across that and then I look at MenStylePower, I realise that whole landscape of my business needs to change. It needs to give more.
Yes.
So beyond, putting forward and promoting clothes and style and great shoes and whatnot, so guys have confidence if it works for them, I also need to look at how do I build confidence from a real catalytic position for them.
Yeah.
So in about 6 months, you'll see something very different coming from MenStylePower, which I'm so excited to.
There's a hook.
Massive.
There is a big carrot dangling over MenStylePower. I wonder what it is.
Yes.
That's exciting. And you do, as we evolve as people, as humans, we have to evolve the things that we bring into this world. And I think it's only... it's natural for something to have a shelf life, and then you've got to figure out the next for it. And sometimes it's to put it to rest and to put it to bed, you know?
Yeah.
And I think being intuitive and smart enough to not just hang on to it the way it is and go, no, but it needs to just be MenStylePower forever, and go, I want to evolve it and change it and grow it, put it in another direction. I think that's definitely your business smarts coming through. And you can't be so attached to something that it's like an old pair of jeans, sometimes you just got to chuck them out.
Yeah.
Or make them into shorts. Is that what you were going to say? Have you ever done that?
I have. I've made jeans into a skirt.
I made jeans...
stripped up the seam.
Into a skirt?
Yes.
I made jeans into a bag.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, Lou, what's your advice for... the people that you've probably already spoken to who say, I want to start a blog.
Yeah.
Let's circle back there. Yeah. What's your advice? What do you want to say?
Firstly, don't die empty. If you want to start your own website that has an associated social media component to it, then go for it.
Yeah.
I want to be real and say that it's a lot of hard work. It's not what people think is easy. It is daily devotion to it. It's like having your own child.
Yeah.
And if you're working internationally, be prepared to be doing phone calls at 6 a.m. or 11 p.m. when you're reaching, through the time zone market to New York, London and whatnot. And be absolutely authentic to who you are, because brands are only going to employ you if you have conviction about what you're involved in, and if they they want to see the dedication, they want to hear you speak on what your product is, and you brand incorporated and have longevity. And if you don't, then I think the investment will pass you by. So they're the key things that I would say to people wanting to start their own website.
So as a influencer blogger stylist, do you write your blogs in your tracksuit pants?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yes!
my gosh, yes.
I'm so happy that you were honest about that, because if you had have said no, I would have said, Jesus knows it. You just lied to me, Lou.
But they are Ralph Lauren. But
but they're gold.
Oh, they're gold lame.
So this year I have been writing my first book, and I just released it. And
Good girl.
The catch cry on the back of the book. Well, it's an e-book, so it's not the back, but the catch cry of the book is best read at home with a cuppa in your trackies, because that's how I wrote it.
Yeah.
And there was something like excellent but slightly depressing about not having to put clothes on every day. And at one point, like, my husband came home on a Friday afternoon and I was like, I don't think you've seen me wear clothes for about a week and a half. I'm going to put on some jeans or just something, because there's this really nice comfort to working from home, but also you can turn into a slob really quickly.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're birthing something new. So it's your tracksuit years of having your own.
Yes.
It's how I see it.
Oh, you made me feel better just then. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't feel so bad about it now.
No,
because that was the honest truth. I was like, oh man, I've like worn these tracksuit pants.
Oh wow, tracksuit, pajamas, you name it. Because you find the time. So your volume of energy may come at 10:30 at night.
Yes.
So you do it, because you have to capitalise on when your writing flow comes through. So
you're not going to put on a pretty dress at 10:30.
No way.
Not to write a blog.
No way. And then you put your makeup on, do your editorial photo shoot the next day,
exactly.
all fine. But this is again is the fallacy of like, you know, we've got programs where we can upload images that we've done, you know, just shot, and that releases them over the next 2 weeks. It's not real time. It's not, you know, virtual time as people may think it is. So it's a very different landscape to what people see on the other side. It's like television. It takes you like 3 months to create the show.
Oh yeah.
And then people watch it, they think, you know, it's very real time.
And I only know this because I was on Heartbreak High once.
I love
it. Again, the millennials like, what's Heartbreak High?
What's that?
It was the best TV show on the ABC ever. So it took 2 weeks to make a 22-minute episode.
Yes.
So 2 weeks of shooting, day in, day out, crazy, crazy, crazy long hours. And then after 2 weeks of shooting, editing, post-production, that episode was then on the TV and it was 22 minutes long.
Yeah.
So that's an indication of like, well, how long does it take to make a movie, right?
Yeah.
So we're still, but we just are like, oh, but there it is. It exists. So, but the behind the scenes is all the inputs are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So it is still a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like we're all trying to be our true, authentic selves, like we're really doing a bad job at that.
Yeah, the timeline is all skewed.
Yeah.
That's what, you know, people don't realise.
Yeah. Well,
or maybe they do. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Maybe they know and they just ignore it.
Yeah.
Why
not? They just see pretty picture like, pretty picture like.
Well, that's it, because how long does
endless
it take to scroll through, right? 4 hours sometimes.
Hey.
There's a lot of photos that need to be liked.
That's right.
Lou, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen on MenStylePower in about 6 months from now.
Yes.
And yeah, it's really lovely. The reason why I wanted to start talking to influencers and people who have got success stories in this industry is because I feel like it's so important to share story. It's one of the most powerful things that we have.
Yes.
And whether that story is a good or a bad one, it doesn't matter. It's all about, hey, this is what I know, and here's some information so that you can do better. Or maybe not make a terrible mistake, either way. So I really appreciate your honesty and being so open with me.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening, guys. Where can everybody see you, follow you, do all the things they need to do?
MenStylePower.com, and all the socials are linked from there.
See, you've just got it down. It's all linked on just the one site. Please subscribe to this podcast if you'd love to hear more. You can rate and review it in iTunes, and we will be back soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you.